Well, good day, my admirable friends. I am Augustus Sherman. Now, I'm not a native of this fine town, but it does mean much to me. Why, it was because of Glens Falls that I became a very wealthy man and a well-respected citizen of the community. I was born in 1801 and raised until my early teenage years near Arlington, Vermont. I'm sorry to say I only attended school for one winter. I did make the most of it, though. I learned my rudimentary arithmetic, reading and writing. My father, Ware Darwin Sherman, was in the lumbering business, and he needed me to help him. So we moved to Kingsbury, New York, and then to Fairfield, an area near Luzerne on the Hudson. This was about 1812. Now, at the age of 15, I was put to work on the river, bringing logs for lumber from Corinth to the Big Bend, and then over to Dead Man's Point in Fort Edward. From there on to Rogers Island, and then rafted them downriver to Troy, where I sold them. I started out as a helper. Soon, I was running the teams of men. But being on the river was a hardship. I couldn't help my father in the office. See, he didn't have the acumen for this kind of work, and he ran into a great deal of debt. By the age of 16, I took over the business, and it seemed I had the acumen that he lacked. It began to become successful. I ran the Old English mill with 2 saws and a grist mill while still overseeing the drawing and rafting of logs for lumber. By the age of 19, I had acquired enough money to take over the Bottleneuf Mill along the Hudson. In 1823, with the fastest team of horses in New York State, we covered 40 miles a day and moving to a new home in Pennsylvania. But I was soon to return. You may ask why I returned. Well, it was 3 years previously that I had met Nancy Weed, a local teacher. I came back for her. We were married in 1824. Not only did she set up housekeeping for me, but she furthered my education and increased my abilities to read. Together we had 9 children, 6 of whom lived to adulthood. I was offered a goodly sum of money to sell all my holdings in 1840 and 41. So I sold my mills in Luzerne and Corinth and the feeder dam. I started fresh, settled here in Glens Falls. I learned a great deal about the lumbering business, and as opportunities arose, I began to acquire holdings of forest lands up in the Adirondack Mountains. This was years before the mountains were put under restrictions by the state. I acquired millions of acres. I also saw opportunities arise in businesses related to my lumbering interests. I became president of the Glens Falls Paper Mill, president of the Bald Mountain Lime Company, and I was either an important shareholder, trustee, manager, or president of all the moneyed corporations in Glens Falls. Why, as vice president and president of the commercial bank, I issued money, and my signature was on every piece of that money. Well, to my sorrow, my dear Nancy died in 1848. She never got to see the glories of my fortune. In September of '56, I married Charlotte Conklin. Together we had 4 children. Sadly, none of them lived to adulthood. By the 1870s, I was deemed the richest man in all of Warren County. I was president of the commercial bank from 1856 until I died in 1884. I built a glorious mansion over on the corners of Glen Street and Sherman Avenue. It was a grand, Victorian, red brick mansion. I owned all the properties from Sherman Avenue over to Notre Dame and back to Holcomb. And on it, I put a baseball diamond for the children of Glens Falls. I built Sherman Block on the west side of Glen Street. And I rented out storefronts to enterprising businessmen. When I look back on my life, I wonder at the changes that came about. I was able to come from a very poor boy to a very rich man. And my legacy lives on today. Not in my money, but what people in my day said about me. That I was a kind and genial man with keen judgment. I wouldn't have been able to do any of this if it wasn't for the women in my life. Nancy Weed and Charlotte Conklin. Well, thank you for letting me share your story.